rigor mortis. I'll be your ghost host. Our first stop in our ghostly tour is actually our oldest story here in Mount Dora. And I do want you to know that if you look closely at this body of water, and look very close, come on close folks, you might get lucky enough to get wet. One of our main homesteaders, David Simpson, actually had checked the next morning down as he always went down to the pond, and there that morning he saw in his hand was a man gripping a fiddle floating face down. At that point, it was named Fiddler's Pond. And on some rare occasions, usually on the crisp of the early evening, you might just hear a slight fiddle playing, reminding us that the fiddler was here. Generally, his wife is usually found upstairs in the window, the double window up there. Occasionally, you might see something up in that area. He's usually found on the veranda, walking back and forth, usually on that end of the building, usually in some form of an orb, sometimes a little mist. We've gotten different pictures of where he's usually been discovered. But more importantly, actually, Anne, his wife, was actually found dead at the ripe old age of 22.
But what happened up in that attic makes me shudder. She came down one day. Her hair had completely turned white. They said that up in that room, she witnessed a child, the apparition of a child inside of a steamer trunk that had been playing hide and seek. A ghost from another neighborhood perhaps, that was impaled by the hook on the inside of the steamer trunk, came down on this child's head, and the ghost, the apparition of this child, blood oozing down, sent her in such a panic that she shockingly white hair changed. She later died of mysterious circumstances in the attic and was said to be trying to open that upper right window, which was not ajar like that last night. You can see that it's been manipulated almost as if she wanted to reach out of this window and perhaps summon someone to help her or the apparition of the small child.
Slightly to my left, you're right. If you'll look at one of the dolls in this window, I ask you to choose a doll. Don't try to choose more than one, but choose a doll and stare at that doll. I notice that I'm back here and I'm not looking myself because I've done it enough. I know what to expect and not to expect. If that doll looks back at you and begins to turn its head, you will be the next possessed.
And on their first night here, they want to dine at this fine establishment. Well, they were up on the far end of the restaurant, dining, when the man reached over what she thought to give her a peck, and he drew blood on her neck. Oh. He was a vampire!
We have documentation of 3 incidences that happened, but this particular one is called the Lover's Leap. What happened was, a particular evening, we believe the Gilberts, it's documented in our cemetery, they had recently gotten married, and actually after their honeymoon, they happened to be out the next day, that they came out, he came out, and he was blowing a kiss to his woman in bed, and as he did, he said, I'm going to go get you some breakfast, first day, I'm going to give you breakfast in bed. And as he did, he backed up, and the banistrate was very close. He stumbled, he tripped, and he fell. He actually fell to his demise at about this location. Now, she was so distraught, just being married less than 24 hours, that she also came out, saw it, her heart broke, and she jumped, plunging to her death. However, as she landed on him, she actually did not die immediately, but 3 days later. Now you might say, what's so specific about that? They were born 3 days apart and died 3 days apart. The Gilberts is noted in our cemetery.
tell you about my deceased husband, Dr. Callahan. It was about in 1929 that he purchased the practice from Dr. Richardson. Well, it seems that we were on a little excursion to a little town close by called Sorrento. It turns out that my husband was driving and he was mesmerized by the beady eyes of a warthog in the road. Hypnotized, I tell you. He drove towards the warthog and unfortunately lost control of the car. We rolled over 4 times. It was a terrible thing. We both died. And the warthog, it was told, I didn't see it myself, was eating the fingers of my husband. Yeah. It was a terrible
That might be Dora walking around. Where do you have the little unit? Where's the back? In your back pocket? Pull it out. Make sure it's not touching anything. Dora might be around. She's there now. Could be the lovers too. Could be the lovers. If what has it really screamed? Anybody feeling anything cold? Wow, she was here. Either her or the lover leapers were here.
It is said that the ghosts of the decedents of this hospital inculcate in those candles in the windows. And it is said that, yes, Malay, it is said the one on the far left blinks once in a while as an indication of an apparition begging for help and fleeing her from the confines of this horrible hospital. For they actually would entice unwed mothers to come here under the auspices of free prenatal and postnatal care and would actually keep the babies after birthing process. Which were also embedded with the skulls of some of the decedents. It's insidious. The human cortex. Oh my God! The skulls are manifesting this very area where he would build up this foundation with the torsos and bodies of the decedents. Bones rising up like the tire in the dump. Oh, no bones about it. Well, one day, Mr. Keene went to talk to his boss and said, I want more money. Well, Mr. Nutter did not like that, and the resulting imbroglio ended with the impaling of Mr. Keene's head with a railroad spike. This fight was so insidious, and you can see from the photo of Mr. Keene, he was a strapping man. He stood about 6 foot tall. Oh my God! The sinews broke free. Anyway, that is what's happening with that. So the experimentation went on. He pulled out teeth, bags of teeth, that he pulled out from miners. Experiments of all kinds of hideous natures. He would experiment with it, Nelly. Oh, sorry. With all kinds of insidious experiments to extract the limbs to make the banshee.